Hello, it is Miss Dion, and I'm gonna give this another try as far as video recording and uploading my meal time or my cooking time for you guys. Tried to do it on Facebook, didn't work. Tried to do it on Instagram, didn't work. So this time I'm gonna try a different method on the soup that I'm cooking. I did do a quick little video earlier, a short actually, of the base that I was doing for this soup that I'm going to be making. It was actually a vegetable broth. And so what I'm going to be doing now is using that vegetable broth and the vegetables from that broth to make up my soup. So if you could see here, I still had some of the vegetables that I had from my broth. And if you can see here, there is some of that broth left in the bowl here. I did blend some of it up in my NutriBullet to make it thicker, to make it more like a stew. But I have some carrots, some celery, I've got some cilantro, some bell pepper, some mushrooms. The bell pepper I have is yellow and green and orange. I've got some red onion and some white onion in here, of course some fresh garlic. But it actually, if you could see there, some of the juice left over from the broth. But I did again blend some of this down to make a stewy substance. So what I'll do is I'll show you quickly what that looks like before I actually start putting my soup together. So I'll just kind of give you a brief little here what that looks like, and I'm gonna grab my ladle just so you can kind of see what that is looking like so far. And it's really more so like a stew. And this is just my broth with my vegetables melted down, blended down into it. So it's more so like a stew again instead of a soup. So I'm going to be now putting together some additional ingredients in that to make up my soup. And so I'm going to be doing some white potatoes, and I've got those peeled already. I'm going to do some northern beans. I'm also going to be adding in some stewed tomatoes. I've got some freshly chopped kale. You can see that here. I'm also going to be adding some more carrots and some more onions and some more peppers, and just kind of make that nice and chunky. I like chunky soups. And I'm going to add the rest of my stewed vegetables, if you will, to this soup. So I'm going to be getting started. I'm going to get this soup all together. I'm going to do some chopping, and then I am going to be adding those ingredients into my soup. So first of all, I'm going to start with my potatoes, and I'm going to chop those. Here, let me just bring this down. I'm just going to be chopping those into bite-sized pieces. And I start by cutting them into slices there. And then what I'm going to do is cut it in half here. And then I'm going to cut those into bite-sized pieces like so. All right. And I'm going to put those here in my bowl. All right. My tomatoes are already cut up. I am going to be adding again some carrots. I have some fresh carrots here. And I'm going to be cutting those up into bite-sized pieces as well. So here I'm going to add fresh carrots along with the carrots that are already stewed down. But I'm going to be adding some additional carrots in there. So as this cooks down, those carrots will get nice and soft, but not too soft. They'll still have a little bit of bite to them. And I'm just going to drop those in my bowl. I'm going to do a few more of those here. And carrots are round and they move around a little bit, so be careful when you're cutting your carrots that you don't cut your fingers. And I'll just do a few more because we do have some carrots already in our stewed vegetables. So Again, just cutting those down into bite-sized pieces. And then I am going to move on. All right. Now that I have those cut down, I'm going to go into my peppers. I've got some green, I've got some orange, and I've got some yellow bell peppers. I'm going to be cutting those down into bite-sized pieces as well. Not going to use the whole pepper. This is a huge pepper, the green one. So I am going to cut a piece of that off, but I am going to use the half of the orange that I didn't use, and also the other half of that yellow that I didn't use. So I'm going to be cutting those down as well. I also have like a little bowl here for my scraps. That way I don't have to continue to go over to the trash can to empty my scraps here. And so I'm just going to peel just the inside of that pepper here. I'm going to clean that out, the peppers, the seeds, and any of the whites. And what I do from here, I just take that heart part and I just grab it right in the middle and just pull that right on out. I'm going to clean that up so that I have a nice fresh pepper to work with. And then same here with my green. I'm just going to peel that out. And then the rest I can use for eating. Here's my peppers. I'll chop those. I also have a piece of red onion that I'm going to be chopping up as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and get that cleaned up. And so I'm just going to chop the end off of that, actually off of both ends, so that I can get a nice good onion to start with. And I'm going to go ahead and peel back the outer layer of that onion just to expose what I'm really going to be using here. Now I've got my onion, I've got my pepper. I also have some fresh scallions I'm going to be adding to that. But I'm not going to add these until the very end. But I do want to go ahead and get them chopped up. They are already washed, as is everything else. I'll pre-wash those things. I'm going to chop those up. And I'm going to just add those to a bowl for later. So I'll add those at the very end. I don't want to cook them in. I actually cooked some of those into the broth. And I'll set that to the side. I also have some fresh cilantro, which I love. It's going to give an extra little something to the soup. And I'm going to chop that down. Again, I'm going to be using this later to finish off the soup. But I want to get everything cut down. And then once I do that, I'm going to add everything to my pot that is already on the stove with my broth that I made earlier, as well as the blended down vegetables from that broth. So let's get that here. And I'm going to add that fresh cilantro here to a little bowl. Again, this is going to be the finishing touch. Here is my cilantro. And I'm going to put my cilantro and my green onions off to the side. And I am cleaning as I go so that I don't have too much of a mess at the very end. Right. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of get this cleaned up, and then what we're going to do is get started to chopping, and then we're going to go ahead and start adding in our vegetables to our stew. And this is going to be delicious. I am going to add some fresh garlic too. And one more carrot here. I'm just going to chop that up. All right.